Gracie Jiu Jitsu rocks. Welcome to the Gracie Jiu Jitsu Rocks podcast, a podcast dedicated to Gracie Jiu Jitsu and all things Gracie, including self-defense, competition, anti-bullying, women's self-defense and empowerment, nutrition, and most especially, the people involved in Gracie Jiu Jitsu. This podcast is for the average Joe. It's for anyone who practices, trains, teaches, or just loves to talk about or hear about Gracie Jiu Jitsu. We'll explore the lives of Gracie Jiu Jitsu practitioners, how they got involved in the art, and what effect it's had on their lives. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. All right, welcome to episode 110 of the Gracie Jiu Jitsu Rocks podcast. As always, I'm your host, Marty Josie, and thanks for listening. Today I'll be speaking with Ryron Sundstrom, who became part of the show last year, but we really haven't featured him much up until now, so not sure how much people actually know about Ryron. So we're going to get to know Ryron better on this episode, and we're also going to recap the recent Jiu Jitsu Lifestyle Summit that Ryron Gracie does every year in LA. And Ryron was at the recent event and did some interviews while he was there, so we're going to be interspersing those throughout the episode as well. So let's start with our Jiu Jitsu quote, and that is, on average, Jiu Jitsu teaches men that their strength doesn't mean as much as they thought it did. It teaches most women they are stronger than they thought. And that is from Anonymous. All right, now on to the interview. After the interview, make sure you stay tuned for the Make a Difference, Make an Impact segment. And without further ado, let's talk to Ryron. All right, I'm speaking with Ryron Sundstrom, who is a part of the show, but not sure how many people actually know him or what he does with the show. So during this episode, I want for people to get to know Ryron more, and we'll also have him do a recap of the recent Jiu Jitsu Lifestyle Summit that he attended and participated in. So welcome, Ryron.
Hey, Marty. Great to be here with you and with all the listeners. Thanks for having me, and glad to be on the public side of the show for the first time.
Right on, man. Glad to have you. And we'll get into a little more of how we partnered you up last year and how you became part of the show. But we're also going to get into the Jiu Jitsu Lifestyle Summit, which I know you just had a blast at. But before we do that, let's get to know you better, Ryron. So let's start off with where are you from and how did you get involved in Jiu Jitsu?
All right. So I live in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida, the panhandle of Florida. And I grew up in Tallahassee, so I consider myself like a Florida guy, but I also have roots up in Michigan, in the Ann Arbor area and up near Traverse City. So I spend my time between there, and then we have another home base in Minneapolis. So we kind of travel a little bit, but grew up here in Florida, call this my home, and this is where I met jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, how did you get involved in jiu-jitsu, by the way?
Yeah, so my kids, I wanted my children to have martial arts in their life. I did not have that as a child, and I always kind of felt like that was an empty place, like or a hole that, just didn't get filled when I was growing up. And, as an adult, I started with martial arts and started with Krav Maga. I knew a guy doing it, so that's where I started. And when I went, my kids were kind of 5, 6 years of age, and I was like, all right, it's time to get them involved in something. And Krav Maga is not the art to right?
Maybe not the best for kids, right?
Right. So, we tried karate. I'd heard of jiu-jitsu. Like, we practiced techniques for these jiu-jitsu guys, is what we called them when we were in Krav. And, anyways, went to the Gracie CTC here with Carlos Diaz, watched him teach the kids class a couple times, and I was just blown away by the teaching methodology and like how knowledge was transferred and just like the patience and the acceptance and of where you're at in the journey. And just, I got so many things all at once. And I was like, I gotta see what this is all about. And so, I told the guy I've been training with for a couple of years, I was like, I'm done. I'm going to go train jiu-jitsu, man.
Wow.
And he's like, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt. And I was like, I don't know how to explain it, man, but I've got to do this. And that was it, man. So that was about 3 years ago. And it's been a journey. And yes, I've been hurt, but that's another story.
It is another story. We'll get into that a little bit. But yeah, I think it's really cool. You're not the first to talk about exploring jiu-jitsu for the kids first, and then really kind of digging it so much that, hey, man, I'd like to do this too. So for sure. So switch just a little and talk about, you recently went to the Jiu Jitsu Lifestyle Summit. And what I want to do with this is kind of go back and forth. We'll talk about the summit a little bit, run one of your interviews that you did from out there, and then we'll come back a little bit more about you and back and forth. So before going out to the event, what did you know about it? What made you want to attend, and what did you hope to get out of it, Aaron?
All right. What did I know about it? So what I knew about it was, my professor, I think, had gone out there one time. I know a few people from my school had gone out when it was really very much invitational only. Like, I don't know if it was ever advertised on the website before, but this is Huron's basically get together to discuss how jiu-jitsu affects our life and how we can just apply it in our life better. That's what I kind of knew it was about. For me, on my personal journey, it was about, all right, how do I transition from my white belt mindset to a higher belt mindset? I'm a recent blue belt, and I need to overcome this strength and learn how to just relax into the technique and overcome the fear. The fear is what drives that need to use strength, right? And so I was looking, I had answers, or I had questions, and that's why I went out there, and I got a lot of answers out there. So that answers one of your questions, I think, Marty. What was the next one?
What made you want to attend, and what did you hope to get out of it? How was it different than what you expected, or was it different in any way?
Man, I don't know that it was different. It was everything I expected and more.
Nice.
And I went to the Origin camp last year, so that was the first kind of like, multi-day experience that I had in jiu-jitsu, and they were completely different. That was more, technique and rolling and having a great time, and I love that. I'm going back again this year. But this Lifestyle Summit was more about the philosophy, Pedro Valente coming in and talking about the history of Jiu. What is Jiu, and where does it come from, and what does it mean, and what's Jitsu, and just, man, it was so fascinating to learn from this man who has dedicated his life. His family has dedicated their lives to being the historians for this art, and that's just one example. There's so much. The talks with Huron, the talks with the other participants were just priceless. We were all there on the same level. We were all different belts, but as far as human beings, we were there and we were all the same.
Nice.
And it was beautiful, man. It really was.
So let's run a little bit of your interview with Huron right after the event, and then we'll have you elaborate a little bit on that.
Cool.
Hey guys, Aaron here with the Gracie Jiu Jitsu Rocks podcast. I'm here with Ryron Gracie. We just got done with the 2019 Jiu Jitsu Lifestyle Summit here in Torrance. And Huron's been generous enough to sit down and help us give a recap and the highlights, and thank you very much for taking time.
Thank you. So I mentioned to a few people throughout the last couple of days, what it is that inspired me to do this event, and I realized it's my attempt. It's always my attempt to recreate that which I'm able to experience everywhere I go. So whether it be at somebody's home, traveling around the world, or on somebody's mat around the world, it's the conversations and the sharing of jiu-jitsu techniques and beautiful rolls. As well as, I'm always learning. I learn a lot from different people from all different walks of life, right? And sometimes this person might be, they could be a doctor, or it could be a school teacher, and there's always something that I take from these conversations with these people. And sometimes they're not doctors or school teachers. They have a job that, you know, one would consider not, you know, a very, you know, high educated job, but nonetheless, because of their jiu-jitsu, you know, commonality with me, we can still hold a conversation. So back to people from all walks of life who have something to share with me. I feel very much like I'm a student for life.
Student for life,
yes.
Is on the coin, right? Student for life.
And I every day I kind of ask myself, like, you know, which person in this room am I not willing to learn something from? You know, of course, circumstances don't allow for sometimes great connection, but the point is that whoever you spend a little bit of time with, there's always something to take. And an event like this, you know, we had like 56 people maybe. It was great to have these short conversations, sometimes only for 2 to 3 minutes, and sometimes talks for, you know, 30, 40 minutes to an hour with an individual. Of course, sliced in, you know, spread out throughout a day of activities. So these conversations, these training, this feeling that I get, you touch somebody, you start to roll, and right away it just makes so much sense with that person. So I'm grateful for all those moments that were shared. And throughout the week, you know, we had some people come in and visit us and speak to us.
Excellent speakers.
Yeah. And people who, you know, that is their profession. And because they do jiu-jitsu, they're sharing how, you know, their profession and jiu-jitsu, the commonalities between the two, and how those things can help us in our everyday lives. And we don't have their profession, so it's nice to see from their perspective what they value when it comes to jiu-jitsu. It was very cool. Aaron ran us through an ice bath one morning, an ice plunge. It was so good. And when he mentioned it to me, I knew right away, of course, because I'm drawn to that kind of stuff. The challenge. And I'm drawn to cold, and I have a very small understanding of the values of cold water and that shock to the system for my health. So, of course, I was down to do it, and it was nice to see so many people from the group also went and did it.
Man, they did so well.
Yes, and I'm sure, like, my wife and many of the students expressed how, many of the practitioners expressed how, you know, they didn't want to do it, they don't like cold, and they just can't stand cold. But because of that, they wanted it even more.
That's awesome. That's the jiu-jitsu mindset, right? Mindset.
Yes.
Love it.
It's anytime someone tells you can't do something, you have two choices. You can agree, or you can say, you know what, I can do it. Or you can know you can do it and choose not to, which maybe there's some people who didn't show up. Right. They knew they could do it, but they just chose not to. And my wife had mentioned how beautiful that was, that they didn't succumb to the peer pressure, the pressure of the group doing it. So it's very powerful. If you were part of our group and you did not do the ice bath, thank you for not doing it.
It's okay.
But next time. So about the whole event and more highlights, just thinking about how, like, you know, the injuries, the common injuries that exist in jiu-jitsu, and our friend Guy Scuderi from Jupiter Self-Defense Academy, I believe, he spoke about the injuries, and I was just listening to him speak about all the common injuries in jiu-jitsu. And as I'm hearing him speak, I'm realizing how grateful I am to have had so little injuries in my life. I had one shoulder injury when I was about 18, 19 years old, and a little bit of a neck strain, you know, maybe 5 years ago that kept me out for a little while. But overall, I just kind of was once again reminded of how grateful I am for the mindset that I have, that which was handed down to me from my grandfather and my father and even my uncles, in that number one was self-defense and just preserving ourselves and keeping ourselves safe while practicing jiu-jitsu. So, you know, and in the group, I think most people there also were pretty injury-free. There was, people have had things here or there, but they all understand the importance of really taking care of yourself throughout this jiu-jitsu journey, because an injury can put you out for a week to 6 months, and that keeps you from the art that, you know, that you appreciate so much. So I was grateful to have, you know, the upbringing that I had, and to where I'm as safe as I am in my own practice for myself.
You know, that was one of the reasons that I was really wanted to come out here to the summit, is because as a newer blue belt, I'm 3 years into my journey, and I've been plagued with injuries ever since I got my combatives belt. It's like my first master cycle class, system, my knee popped on my crutches.
Wow.
You know, and then a slipped rib, and then, you know, just a couple wrists, and I was like, I know there's something, it's my fault. I know it has to do with how I approach it. And, you know, through counseling with my professor, Carlos Diaz, he was saying, Aaron, it's how you approach the rolls. If you're constantly tense, you're set up for injury.
Yeah, you're almost telling them to be tense.
Right.
If I touch you and I'm tense, then you turn tense,
Right.
and it just continues to intensify. And how did you feel the rolls were right now, the practice?
This has been, you know, a big leap forward for me in terms of how I approach the roll. So when I was rolling at the academy yesterday,
Yes.
you know, much softer. I was much more into that, which you said, the don't try to escape, don't try to submit, you know, control,
Feel it.
right? And I'm sorry, the other word's escape. Control. What's the other one?
Control more
Control more.
and defend more.
And defend more, yes.
So
control.
defend
not
and control.
escape, not submit.
Correct.
And as from the white belt mindset to the blue belt mindset, I was still in escape, submit mindset.
You wanted to do things, you want to progress and
But
go
no
forward.
progress, no progress.
Yes.
Now I feel like I have the tools to progress and the tools to do it safely. So that was just, if I just took that one thing from the summit, it was worth that everything in spades to come out here.
Yes. And
But
that
that was just a fraction.
Yes, and that is a big that's a big step for you to realize how so much of what we need to be focusing on is more defense and more control. So you did progress very much so in those two parts of the grapple.
It's the mindset.
And, yes. And as for safety, like there was a time where you can intensify, and that will happen, but in no hurry. Too often it happens very quickly. And just the idea that to move at the speed of our partners and really be connected to where everybody is a very considerate thing, and I think it's the only way to go.
Guys, Huron, thank you.
Thank
the
you.
The summit was epic.
Thank
the
you.
people, beautiful. Your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yes.
This is the best tribe in the world, guys. Jiu-Jitsu brotherhood, Jiu-Jitsu life. I mean, the Gracie Academy. This is a second home to me.
Thank you so
Come on.
much, Aaron. Thank you,
you.
brother. I appreciate you.
So always, Aaron, always good to get Hedron's perspective and what he gets out of the event, and you know, why he started in the first place. But you guys talked about some really cool things, and it sounds like you really benefited a lot from the whole mindset of, you know, not feeling like you have to rush, but being okay in uncomfortable positions and just not rushing it.
Absolutely. That defend and this control mindset that we spoke about, and that's something that I went to his Huron seminar at Alan Manganello's place in Kentucky, and he was talking about that. That was before the Lifestyle Summit, and so that's when the seed was really planted in that. All right, I'm in a dominant position. You know, I don't have to try for a submission right away. I can just, you know, control the position and control the situation, and I can wait for the other person to do something. You know,
Right.
and so. Yeah, that was mind blowing to me, Marty. I mean, that had not clicked before. Let's put it that way. And you know, and then you know, instead of trying to escape, you know, learning. Huron talks about being comfortable in uncomfortable situations, right? You mentioned that too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing more uncomfortable than being under some guy, right, or some person, and they're crushing you, and you know, through breathing techniques, through the techniques that I've learned in the last few years, and this new mindset, you know, it's okay to be here. You know, well, let's just chill. You know, just do what I know.
It's a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's one thing to hear that philosophy and on some level understand it, appreciate it, maybe even embrace it personally. But I would imagine, I mean, I haven't experienced the summit yet personally. I would imagine, though, seeing that in action with a whole room full of people has got to be just, you know, a crazy thing, a beautiful thing.
Yeah, Marty, what really stood out to me is that when we would have technique, you know, we would have a time where, you know, before we would roll, we would share technique. And this was not Huron just sharing technique. This wasn't just Pedro Valente sharing a technique or some black belt. This was anyone in the room, and we had people that had not yet taken their combatives belt test yet in the room. Okay, anyone, share what's working for you now, and let's examine it together and learn.
That's great.
Okay? That was wow. That was powerful. That's jiu-jitsu.
That's an awesome thing. Let's run another interview that you did with Jackson Fortunato.
Hey guys, Aaron Sundstrom coming here live from the Jiu Jitsu Lifestyle Summit out here in Torrance, California. We're wrapping things up. I'm here with my new brother, Jackson, and he's going to introduce himself and talk a little bit about his school in Houston, Texas, and about his journey in Jiu Jitsu. You're a 2-stripe or 3-stripe black belt?
2-stripe black belt, okay. Nearly 3. And I came for the first time to attend the summit here, and of course, it was amazing to meet a lot of people. And I had the opportunity to meet Aaron, who introduced me to a very big challenge in my life that I'm going to try as much as I can to keep going and challenge more. That's the ice bath, for you that know what Aaron is a specialist on. And it was a very crazy, amazing experience to come to the summit for the amount of people that I met here, and the experience, the learning experience, it was incredible, huge. And I'm looking forward to be attending these events every time that I can. I come from Houston, Texas. I'm originally from Brazil. I've been training Jiu-Jitsu over 20 years. I lived 10 years of my life in London, in the UK, and I moved to the US in 2011 with the mission of spreading Jiu-Jitsu. And of course, when I met Hiron and Henner and his dad and all the organization, it really put me in a new path of being more dedicated to self-defense and turn everything what I knew in a much more friendly way, and the results just be incredible. So,
man, that's awesome.
Yes.
I mean, this summit has helped me so much. I was talking to Robin earlier, and I was saying, I came out here with questions, looking for answers in my journey. I'm a newer blue belt. I've been plagued with injuries. But what attracted me to the sport was not the competition, it was the mindset of problem solving.
Right.
And here we've had such deep discussions that have gone into our relationships with our spouses and our friends, right?
Yes.
We've had discussions that have talked about our businesses, and like how to apply jiu-jitsu to our business life.
Right.
And so that's what I'm really coming away with, questions answered at this summit. And so did you have questions coming in? What are you taking away from this summit?
Oh my God, I had so much questions about relationship and a lot of body movements that we learn here, and the network. Prevention. The network that I created here in this event was just incredible. Like more and more, I already have friends all over the world, but it was a really spread out of connections that I get from this event here. And of course the jiu-jitsu friendly aspects, you can roll it anytime without ego, and everybody helping each other, sharing techniques. How humble it was from Hiron to open the mats and everybody could share whatever they come, and some very tricky ideas came there, and we tried to break in together. And I think that's what it is. That's what jiu-jitsu should be. I think the summit is a complete format of what a jiu-jitsu lifestyle should be, with movement, dieting. We talk about dieting, that the person told us exactly that diet should not be branded in that way, and everybody should create their own way and be changing foods to adapt your body every day.
And mobility.
Yes, mobility with Steve Maxwell every day. How big is that? Having Hiron, Steve Maxwell, Ian, that gave us all that stretching and all that concept of, and it was a great experience, man. Actually, if I could sign up today for next year, I would just do it. Man. Yes, and the ice bath experience, believe me, that was the highlight of the event for me.
Really?
Yes, it was, because put everybody in a different perspective.
The fear was palpable.
Yes.
And I wasn't surprised, because I'd done the ice bath with other jiu-jitsu people in Maine, and I was impressed by their ability to overcome their fear. But there were a lot of people that I was surprised. How they had a hard time in confronting that fear. It's a primal fear, just like stepping on the mats. It can be a primal fear.
Right.
To put someone between your legs is a primal fear.
Right.
Women deal with that Men deal with that. I was so uncomfortable starting off on the mats with someone on top of me. So just to be able to test our ability to handle very stressful, uncomfortable situations, jiu-jitsu started me on that journey. The ice baths have helped, exploded that journey, and they all coalesce to create synergy in our journey as human beings. Because we're all just trying to be better people, right?
Yeah, exactly. And there is not better format than this, right? To push us forward to the next level. And just to finish, I remember like how a coach is important on everything you do. After Aaron gave all the instructions for us to be ready for the ice bath, the horse stands and the cold shower on the morning before getting there. And I never been scared of challenges, but of course that was a big one. And I got inside that ice, and of course my breathing started to freak out. And the first 20 seconds I was kind of trying to find the path until Aaron come to me and said, "Jackson, relax." I'm never gonna forget that moment. Like how everything that was happening that moment changed with one word.
I saw it in your eyes.
Yes, when you say like relax, I say, okay. And then that was when the enjoyment and the challenge was meeting together right there. So I really appreciate like the coaching and the passion that you have for that experience that we have.
How many times have you told your students on the mat to relax?
That's it. That's exactly the comparison we can do.
Relax into life.
Yes.
Breathe into your stress. Breathe into your difficulties, and you will find the power and the strength to overcome. Thank you so much.
Yes, and never
my
think
brother.
that you know how to relax until you soak yourself inside a real 36 degrees ice bath.
It's the crucible. All
Thank
right,
you very
brother.
much.
See
It was
ya.
a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, so I enjoyed hearing that interview, especially when you guys talked a little bit about applying jiu-jitsu to your business life. And when you're not on the mat, you manage real estate, is that correct?
Right. Yes, we have a property management business. I'm a real estate broker, and we're in. We get into some high pressure, nasty situations sometimes, and very stressful. Like we've had to evict people. We've had to like take people out of their homes. Like that's not pretty, right?
Right.
And so the ability to remain calm under pressure is very compassionate. Instead of like having emotional outburst over small little things, when other people are having emotional outbursts, we're able to breathe through that. We're able to recognize that this person is struggling, and it just needs a hand, right? And we still have a job to do, but we can be compassionate.
Absolutely.
So that's what I found jiu-jitsu has helped me out with. I'm not perfect. I still make mistakes, but man, not like I used to.
Nice. Both Ryron and Jackson, and I'm sure the rest of the people will as well, touched upon and really appreciated how you brought the ice bath experience to the summit. Tell us a little bit more about that, how you got into that, and what that's all about.
Yeah, so I'm also known as the Florida Iceman, and I started doing cold therapy about a year and a half ago when I heard about this crazy Dutchman named Wim Hof. And I started kind of following some of his techniques and immediately recognized how this would benefit my journey and amplify my journey in jiu-jitsu. And, the breath work, but also just learning how to remain calm in one of the most life-threatening primal fear moments that any of us can imagine. Ice water is one of them. And, fighting life or death situations, they're all one and the same. An ice bath and having someone attacking you stimulates similar hormonal responses, right?
Oh, yeah.
And our breath is the only thing that we can control, or one of the only things that we can control in those situations. And the ice is a crucible where we can just calmly, peacefully practice that connection to our breath and that connection to ourself without letting that fight or flight mechanism just run its course and take over. That's when we gas out on the mats. That's when we have irrational behavior on the mats or in life, right?
Very true. Very true. I got to tell how I got into the cold as well, because I feel like I was probably the least likely person to embrace the cold. And it was through you. As you know, you and I met. So we're Facebook friends. I'm not sure exactly how I first noticed you, but you had a Fit Dads page as well as your own page. And probably through mutual jiu-jitsu friends is how we stumbled across each other. I know Professor Carlos Diaz, and totally respect him as a jiu-jitsu instructor in person. And so when I noticed you had some really cool posts about Fit Dad stuff, and you started posting about I remember when you were first getting into the Wim Hof, studying his methods. And so I was intrigued by watching some of your posts, and I was like, not me, buddy. Right. I like the breathing, but I'm not ready for any cold. Because by the way, I grew up same place as Aaron, in the Florida Panhandle, but we didn't know each other till last year. So sometime last year, I was going back down there to see my mom, as you remember, and let you know I'm coming. So we decided to just met up before daybreak on the beach, and did some yoga, did some slackline, and jumped into the water, and instant friends. Felt like I knew you forever. So it was a quick and great friendship. Sometimes you just meet somebody and you're just like, man, I'm supposed to be in this person's life. So it's really cool. But I had just started kind of maybe accepting or being open to, I'm intrigued enough to let me look into this cold stuff. So did the cold plunge with you. And then from there, I started, I think I had just started taking the cold showers before I went down to meet you. But from there, I kept developing it. You encouraged it, and I progressed until I had done some ice baths just in my own bathtub. And then this past summer, went down and did my official real ice bath with you, and it was an amazing experience. So I've been doing them ever since. In my own garage now, I'm set up, so good to go. So thank you for introducing me to that. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that were at the summit that had their mind blown, and we're glad that you introduced them to it as well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it was definitely one of the highlights of the event for a lot of people. Most people were posting about it. I saw a little jiu-jitsutimes.com or whatever. One of the guys I can't pronounce, Armand. He's a brown belt. He did an article for Jiu Jitsu Times, and the picture they posted on the front of the article was the ice bath. Mm-hmm. Anyways, it's one of those experiences that, you're overcoming this primal fear, right? It really is. I compare it to all of our Jiu Jitsu family. Like when I'm sharing with them, I'm like, all right, imagine the first time you stepped on a mat, and I'm a pretty big guy. I'm 6'2", 250 pounds. Imagine the first time you stepped on mats, if I was on top of you raining down punches on your face, what would you do? Like, it would be terrifying, mm-hmm. right?
Panicky, yeah.
But, man, with Punch Block Series, stages 1 through 4, you got 4 answers on what to do. And it may be difficult, but at least you know what to do and you can survive it, right?
Yep.
And then it just gets better from there, right? It's the same way in the ice bath. Like, it's breathing technique, it's mindset technique, and then it's just learning how to surrender. And I really feel like that's what jiu-jitsu is too, and that's what I'm seeking towards in jiu-jitsu, is just that surrender on the mats where I'm just flowing like I am when I'm in the ice bath.
Yes,
so.
Yes. Yeah, I love how you sum that up, and I couldn't agree more. It seems such a foreign and alien and crazy thing if you've never done it. But once you, like I said, I thought I was the least likely person to think I would have embraced this. But I started to do it kind of in stages, just like you do in jiu-jitsu. You start learning how to survive and develop some comfort in uncomfortable positions. And as you go along, you get more of that until the first time someone tried to guillotine you, you're like, oh my God, I'm getting choked. And then eventually you learn, like, okay, I can make a little bit of pocket here and breathe. I'm good. I'm good for now, and then we'll take the next step to get out or whatever. But you don't panic anymore. Same with this. Like you said, you overcome a primal fear, and you learn how to override that fight or flight response through your breathing. It, to me, is all about the breathing, because I was already really into the breathing. So what intrigued me is, like, how well can I use my breath to conquer something that I really don't want to do, which is this ice bath. But it got to a point that now I love doing it. There's still that moment before I get in where I'm like, oh man, am I really going to do this? But I know I'm going to dig it. So once I get in, I'm prepared for the first 10 or 15 seconds, and I totally breathe. After that, I settle in and, like you said, surrender to the process, and it becomes a meditation. And it's so cool. And it's deep. And when you get out, you're like, feel more alive than you ever have. So it's awesome.
Man, and it's so, it has so many benefits for on the mental side. Like,
yes.
It never calm my mind down. I'm called an EPT, an entrepreneurial personality type. Like, my mind works 1,000 miles a minute, right?
Yeah.
And I could never. Like, people would say, "Okay, meditate," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like,
yeah, right. Sounds good, but how do you do that crap?
Yeah, I gotta shut my mind off. And I remember the first moment where I experienced the quietness, the stillness that I'd heard about, and it was in the ice bath. And man, it was profound. And people that are suffering from myriad mental and physical ailments can benefit from this. And especially I feel like in the jiu-jitsu community, I mean, there's so many injuries. And there's so many people that have struggles. Like, I mean, think about Anthony Bourdain, think about some of the other people that had drawn to the sport, but, seeking for answers, right? Mm-hmm. But they don't know how to deal with other things in their life. I really feel like this ice therapy, this breath work therapy has healing properties. There's so much research going on with this that it's another answer for people that are out there struggling without hope, yes. And you and I have talked and gotten real, on the phone and messages, and it's like, man, we all struggle, but jiu-jitsu helps me, yoga helps me, nutrition helps me, breath work helps me, the ice bath helps me. And getting that message out is what drives me, because, man, I'm just like you and every other guy and gal out there, trying to make it, trying to be a dad, trying to run a business, trying to be a husband, right? I mean, that's what matters. And these things that I've found in the last couple of years, ever since, my journey that we can go into, later on. But, since jiu-jitsu, I've met all these things, and I believe it's a reason, and I believe it's what's making me, or helping me become the person I've wanted to be, and the person I need to be as a dad and a father and a husband. So it's pretty deep for me, man, and it drives me on a lot of levels.
Well, I couldn't relate to you more on that, because and as I get older, once I discovered breathing, especially functional breathing, that you can really apply to the mat, that's been my passion for the last couple of years, is developing the Breathing for BJJ program, because I have felt so much power from it. And then you can apply it to the ice, you can apply it to the mat, you can apply it in so many areas of your life. And like you said, it's profound.
Next time, a reaction stimulus comes up, try taking a breath, man. And if you've been in the ice that day, or you've a cold shower that morning, how much more powerful is your decision-making ability, Marty?
Exactly. People say, man, why don't you do something like that? I'm like, the mind-body connection. I said, man, if I can breathe through ice-cold water, what can traffic do to me?
Right.
I can breathe through it. So, yeah, we could talk about that forever. So let's move on, man. You mentioned your journey, and before we go to the next interview about the summit, tell us a little more about some of the struggles that I know you've had some really hard things hit you in your life that you've overcome. So tell us a little bit about that, if you would, Aaron.
Sure. So, I mean, the big thing is I'm a 5-year cancer survivor. I had neck cancer diagnosis when I was 38 years old, and met jiu-jitsu a year and a half afterwards, and just immediately got choked out and had my first injury where on my neck, where I'd had the treatment, so that kind of started my journey off. And my former Krav instructor, he was right. There's definitely injuries, but I also have learned to recognize those injuries were because of how I approached the sport, not because of how the sport approached me. Does that make sense? Absolutely. And not the sport, the art. The art.
Right.
Is the better word for that. So, yeah, the injuries have, it came on. I saw a knee injury. I was on crutches. I had a tailbone injury and a wrist injury. Those are the 3 ones that I still deal with today, and have kept me, have hindered my progress, again, more from the way I approach the injury in my journey than from how it's approaching me. And so I've been trying to follow the advice of those who have been down this path and just become more of a student and become much more soft on the mats and just really work with my injuries and not try to be the guy that's winning, and not try to be the guy that, winning doesn't matter. What is winning? Winning has to be learning. That's what I need to redefine it as.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at right now, and I'm loving it, man. I really do. I mean, there's things I want to do better, but at the same time, I'm grateful that the sun was shining today. I'm grateful that I got beautiful oxygen to breathe, and I've got jiu-jitsu videos I can watch online, and I got jiu-jitsu people I can roll with, and man, life's good.
Right on, man. Right on. All right, let's run another one of your interviews from the summit, and let's do that now. And this is with Elroy Spoonface Powell.
All right. So I'm here with Spoon.
Hey, how's it going?
Introduce yourself.
I'm Elroy Spoonface Powell, or Spoon. As you can see, we've been working up a little bit of sweat at the JJLS Jiu Jitsu Lifestyle Summit 2019.
Yes, sir.
Having a great time. This gentleman introduced us to the ice bath and the benefits. Really great, really great. I think I probably need one now.
Yeah, right. So I got a question. We were hanging out by the pool earlier, and you didn't get sunburned, but I did. What happened there? You see how red I am? I got burned. Hey, man.
Man, it's them good genes, bro. What can I say?
That's it, man. Beautiful. My Jamaican brother here. Love this man. He's an incredible jiu-jitsu practitioner. He's a father. He's a leader. He's an artist. This is the real deal. This is what jiu-jitsu is all about. And much love. How have you liked the summit so far?
Yeah, it's great. And I mean, you said that, me and this gentleman have been having some really deep conversations, really inspirational, and covering a range of things. And starting with jiu-jitsu, we're talking about rolling with women, and if there's a different approach you should take, and so on. And everyone has their
we're
ideas.
big guys,
and we're big guys. So for me, because I'm usually bigger than most people, I generally don't think, oh, that's a woman, I'm going to treat her differently. That's a man. I generally go by what I feel when I connect with the person. So you could be a large guy and quite senior, purple, brown, black. If I'm with you and I can feel like your heart is racing, you're panting, you're out of breath, you're really struggling, what benefit do I get trying to kill you doing that? It's not a competition. If we're in an environment where we're trying to drill and trying to sharpen our tools,
right,
it's best that I say to you, look, if I apply more pressure, you're going to tap. Right. Let's reset and then look at other things we can work on.
Right.
So when it comes to working with women, it's the same. It doesn't matter. If the lady's smaller than me and not very technical and not very skilled, I'm going to be aware of that and again go by how it feels when we connect. Otherwise, if she's highly skilled and she's healthy and everything's fine, I'm going to go accordingly, because I believe that it's not about us cheating each other.
Right.
We need to know that what we're doing in these environments is going to work for us. God forbid something happens out on the streets.
We're preparing each other for the streets.
We're preparing each other for the realities
That's
of
true.
the streets, and we have to keep that in mind. But also work within what people can, it's not about creating pain and damage, it's about encouraging this journey through discomfort.
Right.
Recognizing that we need to become comfortable with being uncomfortable, as many have heard before, but it's something I definitely believe in wholeheartedly.
Right.
And it extends across into everyday life.
Absolutely. What's been your favorite part of the summit, man?
Man, there's so many parts. Meeting people like yourself,
Yes.
the jiu-jitsu, the people, man, the connections, the energy that you exchange and you share. Even if we don't see each other again for 1, 2, 3 years,
whatever.
we're there, we're
life,
family.
yeah.
Like you go and say, yo, if I land in your city, I'm like, yo, what's up?
Yeah.
We're gonna connect and we're gonna, keep it moving. And that's what I love about this, because we have an understanding from grafting and grinding and working as hard as we do through the art. We have a respect for ourselves and each other that just continues.
I think there's a connection among all jiu-jitsu practitioners. I mean, we're all problem solvers. We're all seeking to make the world a better place in some way, whether it's in our families, whether it's just ourselves, or whether it's on a bigger community impact, arena. This community attracts the best quality of people, in my opinion. So blessed to be here, blessed to meet brothers like this, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I just want to say a special thanks to Professor Eddie Cohn and all the family at EKBJJ back in London. That's where I'm from.
That's right.
And all of my martial arts family, in and outside of jiu-jitsu. Much love every time.
All right.
Awesome.
Peace.
All right. He seems like quite a character, Aaron. I like how you guys discussed the deep conversations that are had at that event, and then the mindset, working with, whether you're working with women and maybe the special considerations there, or flexing to each other as you roll and helping each other, and also the community and connection between jiu-jitsu practitioners. Very cool stuff.
Yeah, man. Meeting Spoon, this guy. I remember I walked in and I was talking with someone, and I see Spoon is a large, dominant man. I mean, he stands out in a room, and he's got a big smile and a big heart. And I just see this guy. He like left this conversation and started walking over towards me, and it was almost like, all right, because I'm a big guy too. Maybe it was like big guy respect or something. I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, he just came over and he immediately introduced himself. He's like, just call me. Everyone calls me Spoon. And it was just immediate connection, immediate brotherhood. And we got a chance to spend quite a few hours together on our breaks. And we got a chance to talk about, how do we approach our roles as larger men. I'm 250 pounds and he's, he's up over that. And when I started, I was over 300 pounds and I was terrified to roll with smaller people. And let alone women, to roll with women, it was a real struggle. And but at the same time, I think it was a huge advantage because as I've gotten a little bit smaller and I'm continuing to get smaller, I've learned how to balance my weight so that I can roll with my children and I can roll effectively, I believe, with smaller women, and then I can give them, or I can offer to them, a chance to roll against a giant,
Right.
Safe environment. They can practice their techniques. And I'm telling you, I roll with women I'm way more than 100 pounds over them, 130 pounds more than them. And I honestly believe I would have no chance. Like they would have no chance if I was a bad guy against them.
That's a beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu, right?
And it makes me so excited. Like I get so excited about that because what does that mean for my daughter? What does that mean for my wife? It means that there is safety and security for all.
Right,
and
right.
the quality that comes in there. And that's what we talked about at the Lifestyle Summit. That's the exact kind of conversation that Spoon and I had together, or Sean and I had together, or Huron and I had together. And everyone else at that summit had similar, just aha moments, connecting how jiu-jitsu helps them process life better.
Nice. Very nice. You mentioned being big and you're on your way to getting smaller and smaller, but you used to be a power lifter or a strongman, right?
Yeah, I did some amateur strongman and had a chance to lift with some pretty strong guys and did one competition. And yeah, I used to roll pretty heavy, around 330 pounds, and pull fire trucks, and
wow,
had like 24-inch biceps. And, I thought I was tough stuff back then, but man, my current self could beat my old self's butt up pretty good.
That's awesome. And you're talking about, whether you're talking about a girl, a male or female, it doesn't matter. I've had so many people talk to me on the show and in life about how they got introduced to jiu-jitsu, and it was somebody that was 50, 80, whatever pounds lighter than them. And, they got just owned. And it's like, just opened their eyes. They're like, I gotta have more of this. I gotta know this stuff. And we're not suggesting that size and strength don't matter or don't ever come into play. All things being very equal, of course that does. But most of the people you're going to encounter out there in life, and where you would really need your jiu-jitsu skills on the street, aren't going to be highly trained. And even if they are, that's fine. But that's when the size and strength doesn't matter as much. It's how much you know and how much can you apply when it counts.
And I'd say, certainly the standard deviation, they don't know what they don't know.
For sure.
They have no idea what they don't know.
You're
and
right.
What excites me about that is, man, I have no idea what I don't know yet either. And I'm excited to keep learning. So,
that's the cool thing is I love being in a position, because I know some stuff, but I have a long way to go, but I can go train with some people that maybe I'm more experienced with, and I can coach them. And then next day I can go somewhere and be with some people where, it makes me feel like I know nothing, because that's just so far further down the road. And that's the cool thing. You can be in all these different areas as far as, sometimes you're the coach, sometimes you're being coached, and sometimes you're in between. And, there's just so much variety within it, and the learning never ends. And that's what's really cool.
And you can learn from anyone.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what makes it just all connect for me, is that from the top down and from the bottom up you learn. And, Huron was learning from us just as much, if not more, than we were learning from him. And, you know, when I see Huron, I'm just trying to figure out what is he learning, you know, from me and from his surroundings. 'Cause he just seems to absorb and witness things on a level that I don't know. This is just me extracting, but man, I want to understand things like he understands things. I want to understand things like these other black belts that I've met, you know, just how they process life because of what they've learned on the mats. It's very specific skill set that I don't think that you can learn in many other environments, you know?
No, it goes way beyond jiu-jitsu. He's one of those people that are students of life, right? And he may know a ton more than you about jiu-jitsu, but he's really open to what you can teach just about life. So that's a really cool thing, and it probably keeps it very exciting for him.
And evolving, you know, I think that's a big theme is, you know, constant evolving, you know, and that's what jiu-jitsu is. It's efficiency, right?
Yes. And also honoring the other person. When you can look at the other person and say, okay, yeah, I may be higher rank, I may have more experience, but you are a very worthwhile person, and I can learn from you. And we're not defined by our belts or whatever, how many years of experience. We're people connecting with each other, and we can learn from each other and appreciate each other.
Well, yeah, and our experiences are unique to our own, or each of us, and each of us can learn from someone else's experience, like a little bit better way. And jiu-jitsu is throughout life, and life is throughout jiu-jitsu. It's a circle that I'm seeing. It's cool.
Right on.
Right on.
Right on. All right, let's go to our last interview here that you did.
I'm here with Patrick Christopher and his fiancée Mikayla from Australia, and they're going to talk a little bit about their journey. Patrick's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Mikayla's a blue belt.
Blue belt,
three stripes.
Yeah.
3 stripes. So I just asked them to talk a little bit about their journey and their story in Jiu-Jitsu, and also about their impressions of the summit. So I'm going to let you guys go ahead.
Yeah, so I started Jiu-Jitsu about 12 years ago.
Okay.
I was, about 17, 18
Okay.
years old, a skinny musician, never really having done any kind of physical training or any martial arts before. But I was pursuing a career in law enforcement.
Okay.
So I thought it'd be a good idea to be able to
Defend yourself, right?
Yeah.
That's a great idea, law enforcement. You know, no more donuts, do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, so that's why I started, and I guess I just fell in love with it, and I've not been able to stop doing it since. So.
And then your fiancé?
Yeah, so I'm in the police as well. I'm in law enforcement, and I met him through work.
Okay.
And it was him that got me into jiu-jitsu for obvious reasons, for defense and everything like that, because what we learn back home is not really, just doesn't work sometimes, you know. You just want that little bit extra. You want to have that confidence on the street, you know. So I think that's why he got me into it, and it's been awesome. You know, my life has changed so much with jiu-jitsu, not just obviously training, but just you just put it into everything in life.
And where do you guys train?
So we live in the Blue Mountains outside of Sydney in Australia.
Okay.
So we've got a little MMA gym up there that we train at. Yeah.
Okay. And who did you get your black belt from?
So it's a little Gracie Bahar affiliate school.
Okay.
And we're under a guy called Chris Trace.
Chris Trace. Very cool. Well, I got a chance to roll. Did we roll?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did get to roll. And just very smooth. He was an excellent teacher, showed me some nice moves and gave me some great tips, and I really appreciate that. And Mikayla was talking about how her experience in jiu-jitsu was she was actually uncomfortable rolling with women, and I found that to be an interesting perspective. And I don't know if you wanted to mention that real quick.
So where we train is we don't really have that many women. We have more women now, and it's fantastic, and I'm getting more exposure to rolling with women. But I find when I roll with men, I'm comfortable rolling with men now. There's no issue. But you know, when I brace and everything, sometimes I guess I do use strength against a man because, you know, I'm bracing against their body weight. But then when I go with a woman, I find that that's a bit too much. I'm actually using a little bit of strength here. So
you're so conditioned.
Yeah, so it's interesting rolling with women too, because I find I defend a lot. So my defense is really good. My attack isn't so good because I defend all the time when I'm rolling with men all the time. And I find when I roll with another woman, they're the same. They defend all the time. So you find that you're in a role where you're flowing, but it's all defending. Like you're just constantly defending against each other, because that's what we're exposed to a lot. You know?
And what did Huron say the whole time? Don't be in such a hurry to escape.
That's right. Just relax.
Defend, relax. You're fine.
Be comfortable. You're okay. You're not dying. You know, you just defend and you go through the motions, and yeah, it's interesting.
Patrick said something. We were out talking yesterday, and Patrick mentioned that did you have an injury or something, and then you just spent like 12 to 18 months on your back.
Yeah, no. So I came out here for the first time in, I think, 2013.
Okay.
And I spent probably 6 weeks in LA training at the Gracie Academy, and that was the first time I was introduced to the philosophy that we've been talking about for the last 3-4 days.
It's about 6 years ago.
Yeah, and I mean, like a lot of other people, I never been exposed to that at all. I always thought, you know, like attack, you have to escape, you know. And when I was introduced to Huron's philosophy, that it's okay to be in bad positions, and it's a good thing to develop comfort in those bad positions, I went home and I spent 12 months, 18 months on my back.
Nice. So what you learned from Huron caused you to go home and rethink your game. Like, I just want to learn how to be comfortable on the bottom.
So I spent that 12 months, 18 months on my back, allowing people to take position, allowing submissions to happen, to develop that comfort and to develop my defense to a point where I do feel comfortable in pretty much any position now.
How did that, because you had about 6 years of training prior to that, is that correct?
Yeah.
All right, so how did your learning curve change after that?
I think once you develop that comfort, you're able to be more present. There's no panic anymore. So you're able to see opportunities more clearly, your timing gets better, and you're also able to reverse engineer submissions. If people are trying to submit you and your defense is really good, you know what to look for when you're using those submissions.
I think I've heard that before.
Yeah.
My professor, Carlos Diaz, he talks about that, like the best way to learn a submission is to learn the defense in every aspect of the defense.
Yes.
If you're a master at defense, you will become a master at submissions. Very powerful. So we were talking about discomfort, being comfortable in the uncomfortable situation. You guys did the ice bath?
Yes.
Yes? The first time?
First time.
Okay, They did awesome, by the way. Very, very well. How do you think that level of discomfort, you know, and learning to be comfortable in that level of discomfort may help your jiu-jitsu game?
Man, that was another level of discomfort. I've never felt cold like that before, and it really took everything I had to just focus on my breath, like he told us to do.
Nice.
And just to have that presence of mind to be able to control that and stay calm, even though I really didn't want to.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming out to LA. It's a long trip. And,
thank you. It's been
sharing the
pleasure.
knowledge and your experiences.
And thank you for giving us that experience with
it's life-changing.
Awesome.
Yeah, unbelievable.
All right. They sound like a couple of other great additions to the people that you met out there and the connections you made.
Yeah, Patrick and Mikayla were awesome. They're my new friends from down under in Australia. We had a couple other, Sean Watson came up too. But love the Australians and had a great time talking to Sean and Mikayla both about the, you know, her perspective on rolling with women and men, because she was used to only rolling with men, had very few women to practice with, and just how she's learning to become more comfortable with that. My thought on that was, you know, how interesting, you know, this is a fairly small female. I mean, she can't weigh much more than 110 pounds, you know, 120 pounds tops. And she would rather, you know, she felt more comfortable rolling with me than, you know, another small female. But that's just because that's what she was used to, right?
Right.
So that's what she was comfortable with, right? And so, yeah, that was very interesting, you know. And it went into the ice bath, and she did great. So did Patrick. But with Patrick, you know, he really helped me understand Huron's concept a little bit more, because I got a chance to roll with him and really, get to practice those concepts of defending and controlling versus submitting and escaping, right? Because I know as a white belt, I was taught to defend or to escape and submit, right? That's not what I was taught, but in my mindset, that's what I was supposed to do, right? Success, and I'm getting out of this, preventing the submission and trying to submit someone else at whatever cost. And that's what caused the injuries. And now my mindset, and thanks to this summit and, all the teachings I received before it, right? Because it's a culmination. I really feel like I'm more comfortable, defending. I'm more comfortable controlling. And I'm not as pressured to escape. I don't feel as much pressure to try to submit. I'm not there yet. I'm still a blue belt, a no stripe blue belt. But I have more confidence that I'm on the right path, or a better path. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So Patrick, big part of that. So much respect to him. He really helped that click for me, and very cool.
It's very cool that you've learned that and passing it on, because when you let the ego drive you and you want to escape as soon as you can, or try to submit someone, at all costs, that's what your goal and drive is. Like you said, you're more prone to injury, but it's also, you get caught into this, you're trying to force your will instead of control and relax and then let it kind of organically happen, right? You'll see submission opportunities, because when you're controlling and then someone else wants to escape, they're going to present opportunities. But instead of you trying to force it and getting kind of, anxious about the whole process. And like you said, I'm a work in progress as well. But I just think that philosophy makes a lot of sense for someone who wants to be on the mat well into their years,
Absolutely. It's all about staying connected to that breath. And whenever we're challenged to the point where we lose control or lose awareness of our breath, that's when we start losing control of the hormones and the fight or flight response. And then eventually that leads to the irrational decisions.
I agree. Even on the mat, and I mentioned this in my breathing program, is the mindset for the mat is a lot of what we're talking about here. And like you said, if you're focused on your breath when you're rolling, it's a whole different experience than if you're not. Because if you're not, you invariably start holding your breath or over breathing. But another thing is try smiling while you're rolling. Yes. Because if you look at people's faces, the ones that have some kind of grimace or whatever, that you can tell their breathing isn't as good, and they're also just kind of taking it really seriously and probably more anxious. If you see someone smiling, or if you try it and remind yourself to smile, it becomes a whole different experience, man. That and the breathing for sure.
Hey, that's one of my black belt tips for the ice bath, Marty, is to, when you get in there, tells your nervous system you're okay.
Right on, brother.
Fight or flight response. That's exactly what it does.
Exactly. All right. So sum this event up for people who are intrigued, have heard a little bit about it, but never been there. What are the key things that you took away, and why should someone possibly consider going to one of those events?
Okay. So if jiu-jitsu is more than just a sport for you, if you're curious about how jiu-jitsu impacts other people's lives, their relationships, their interaction, their daily personal interactions with other human beings. That's what the Lifestyle Summit's about. If you're looking for, rolling and technique and getting after it, man, Jocko's got a killer camp, the Origin camp, Pete Roberts and them up in Maine. Highly recommend that camp. If you're looking for the lifestyle, if you're looking for the philosophy, if you're looking to learn some cool technique, but more in a shared environment. This Lifestyle Summit. I don't know if anyone else is doing anything like this. I'm not I'm not really experienced in traveling to other people's summits, but I'm pretty sure this is a unique offering that Huron's got. It's once a year. I would highly recommend checking it out. I absolutely will be attending there if at all possible. I will be there, and I hope to make it a yearly event. I want to reconnect with all the people that I saw and met there, and I want to feel that energy that drives me and enriches my journey in life. So,
Yeah, it seems to be one of those peak experiences that really bonds you for whoever's there and goes through it with you, that you feel like you've got a connection forever, you know.
Yeah.
Before we close with that part, some of the other speakers, mention some of the other things that were talked about that we haven't covered. I know Victoria always does something on communication. So talk a little about that. And I know that there was a spinal surgeon that talked about injuries. Talk a little more about those if you would.
So yeah, Victoria actually, she started us out and really kind of set the tone for, you know, how to hold, the theme was how to hold space with people and how to ask for permission for someone to hold space with you, and what does hold space mean? And it was basically like, how do you be real with people? How do you share the ugly side that you don't see on Facebook and Instagram of your life, but that you need help with, right? How do you do that appropriately without, you know, disrespecting someone else's journey and where they are in their life? Like, you know, not everyone wants to hear about my cancer, right? Not everyone wants to hear about when I was going through it. Not everyone is prepared to deal with something so uncomfortable as a difficult thing in life, right? And so that tone that Victoria set really helped all of us, I think, to open up more to how jiu-jitsu can help our lives, how we can use techniques to overcome emotions and previous injuries from life, right? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So yeah, Victoria was profound. You know, Steve Maxwell and his warm-up routines and his you know, movement routine and just how to take care of our bodies. I mean, he's the living, you know, proof, man. I mean, he has a great routine, and he has been rough on his body through his wrestling career and everything. And he's in great shape. I really hope I'm doing as well as him.
He's incredible, isn't he?
I mean, it's just amazing. He's
a picture of how you should age. I mean, he's definitely doing it right. Yeah.
And you know, and then I mentioned, you know, Pedro Valente earlier and talking about the history of the art and the name, and Guy Scuderi, orthopedic surgeon, spine surgeon from Miami, you know, gave a presentation on jiu-jitsu injuries. And there was a nutritionist, you know, forgive me, I don't have his name in front of me, but, you know, a nutritionist from the area that Huron knew, and just, you know, talking about the gut biome. Oh my gosh, Mari, we should have a whole podcast on how your gut biome affects everything in your life, right?
Oh yeah.
And, you know, so I mean, Huron brought together. There were others too, and you know, Huron brought together a all-star crew of just people, just humans, man. I mean, that we all learned together. It was awesome.
It sounds awesome. And in my mind, what makes this different than other camps, or even the Gracie Immersion Camp, which is a really cool thing, and I've been to that many years. So on any other kind of events like this, you get to go learn some good jiu-jitsu, and you also get to be around great people. But I think because you have such great speakers come in on all these different areas, and then you break up into groups and talk about it and connect at a deeper level, and there's something going on all day, right? Some of it may be I guess you guys probably played, or a lot of you probably played Mafia, right? That's a big thing there. But yeah, you intersperse jiu-jitsu with these discussions and these speakers. So it's really kind of a real total immersive kind of thing on a deep level. So very cool.
Yeah, loved it. A lot of fun. And we're going down the Origin Camp, taking my whole family down the Origin Camp next month in Orlando. Yeah. And so we'll have some more stuff on that one next month. So.
Wait, that's the Origin Camp or the Immersion Camp?
The Immersion Camp.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Did I say Origin? Sorry.
I think so. No worries. Just wanted to be clear on, because the Origin Camp is up. Where is that? Connecticut or somewhere?
Maine. Yeah,
Maine,
that's
Maine.
up in
All right, gotcha.
August. But yeah, the Gracie Immersion Camp is in Orlando, Florida this year, May 8th through 12th, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm taking the whole family down there and
right
looking forward to that.
Sweet. All right, so I'll definitely put a link in the show notes about the Jiu Jitsu Lifestyle Summit. And to bring us to a close, let's talk about how you got involved in the podcast here. You know, my podcast started over 5 years ago, and it's just been a real thrilling thing to do. I knew nothing about how to do a podcast when I started, so it's been a great learning experience. I've really been able to connect to a lot of great people, and but it's kind of like my baby. So, when you have your baby, you're reluctant to let other people get involved in it. Maybe it shouldn't be like that, but that has been like that. And I said before about how you're one of those rare individuals that right when I met you, I just felt kind of a connection, friendship on deep levels, multiple levels. I relate to you on a lot of levels. So we got to talking, and you're in the position where you get to do a lot of traveling and plan on doing more. So we thought it'd just be a really cool thing to have you be, quote unquote, our roving reporter and cover some events and cover some travels and do some tours of schools when you're on the road and things like that. So I think it was last summer that we kind of made that decision. Didn't have you do a whole lot through the fall, but now we're starting to get into opening up the opportunities for you. So very excited for that.
Yeah, and we got a couple things coming up, and so I'm excited to bring some more flavor and some more experiences to the listeners out there, and just kind of spread the love. Jiu-jitsu is about making people better, and it starts with us. And I'm working on becoming a better human being so I can be, better for my children, and they can be better for your children, and it makes the world a better place.
Absolutely, my friend. And you're a class act. And it's one thing I love about you is you really love people, and you want to be there for people, and like you said, make the world a better place. So hats off to you. Thank you for sharing more about your life and about the event with us. I really appreciate it. And as always, I wish you a long, healthy, and happy life, my friend.
And to you as well, my friend.
All right. Take care, brother. All right. Really enjoyed the conversation with Aaron. We're going to have him on a lot more and have him out in the field interviewing people as well at different events and things like that. So great guy. You guys are going to love hearing more from him. All right. The Breathing for BJJ program is launching. Pre-sale is over, and we're about to launch the full program in a matter of days. So possibly by the time you hear this, it may be live, but if not, go ahead and go to www.breathingforbjj to check it out for more information. This is a program I've put my heart and soul into, and I've spent the last few years really developing it. It's such an important part of jiu-jitsu, developing your breathing and your ability to relax under pressure and regulate your breathing and feel safe in uncomfortable positions. All of that goes into this, but actually learning to strengthen and develop your breathing muscles will have a profound impact on your jiu-jitsu. So check it out today. Up next is the Make a Difference, Make an Impact segment. Time now for the Make a Difference, Make an Impact segment. Let's talk about self-awareness. I've been reading books lately on emotional intelligence, and some of this comes from one of those books. But simply put, to be self-aware is to know yourself as you really are. Initially, self-awareness can come across as a somewhat ambiguous concept. There's no finish line where someone is going to slap a medal on you and deem you, quote, self-aware. Awareness of yourself is not just knowing that you're a morning person instead of a night owl. It's deeper than that. Getting to know yourself inside and out is a continuous journey of peeling back the layers of the onion and becoming more and more comfortable with what is in the middle, the true essence of you. Your hardwired emotional reactions to anything come before you even have a chance to respond. Since it isn't possible to leave your emotions out of the equation, managing yourself and your relationship means you first need to be aware of the full range of your feelings, both positive and negative. When you don't take time out to notice and understand your emotions, they have a strange way of resurfacing when you least expect or want them to. It's their way of trying to bring something important to your attention. They will persist, and the damage will mount until you take notice. Facing the truth about who you are can at times be unsettling. Getting in touch with your emotions and tendencies takes honesty and courage. Be patient And give yourself credit for even the smallest bits of forward momentum. As you start noticing things about yourself that you weren't previously aware of, things you aren't always going to like, you are progressing. As you develop self-awareness, you are able to make changes in your thoughts and interpretations you make in your mind. Changing the interpretations in your mind allows you to change your emotions. Self-awareness is the first step in creating what you want and mastering your life. Where you focus your attention, your emotions, reactions, personality, and behavior determine where you go in life. Having self-awareness allows you to see where your thoughts and emotions are taking you. It also allows you to take control of your emotions, behavior, and personality so that you can make changes you want. Until you are aware in the moment of your thoughts, emotions, words, and behavior, you will have difficulty making changes in the direction of your life. So, going through your day, your week, your month, I invite you to start cultivating this self-awareness. Being in the moment, what can you become more aware of? When certain things happen and you respond, what causes that reaction? What kind of things make you want to respond in a certain way, etc. Be on the lookout for clues and information. And I think this will make you a lot more happy and fulfilled the more you grow into this. And that's going to do it for this edition of the show. As always, I thank you for listening. Hope you're enjoying the show. If you feel like you're benefiting from the show and want to show your support, you can support us on our Patreon page and a link in the show notes. Please like and follow us on social media and help us spread the word by reposting our posts and telling others about the show. You can leave comments on the website at www.graciejujitsurocks.com. You can also go to iTunes and leave comments as well as rate the show, and we would appreciate a 5-star rating, which helps us with our standing in iTunes. You can also leave comments on our YouTube channel. If you have suggestions for the show, please don't hesitate to give those. We always like feedback and suggestions. Okay, that's going to do it. So until next time, this is Marty Josie, and I'll see you on the mat.